Am I the asshole for leaving immediately when I showed up at a babysitting job and there were a bunch of kids and they wouldn't pay me upfront? I am 17, babysit as a job to save up for college. I've been doing this since I was 14 and I have a very good reputation with lots of repeat clients that trust me. Every once in a while I will get a referral for someone new. Last night I was going to be babysitting for a new family. We had agreed that I would be watching their 2 children from 5 p.m. until midnight. The kids were 7 and 9, so it was going to be easy. When I showed up there were 6 children. I guess it was a group date night for this family and their friends, and they decided, without asking me, that I would be babysitting all their kids. My mom was still in the driveway, so I turned around and went to the car. The people I had agreed to babysit for freaked out and came running to the car. I asked them if they had arranged sitters for the other 4 kids, and they said that I should be able to handle it. I said fuck that and asked my mom to take me home. They said they would pay me what they agreed for the evening and pay for the other kids at the end of the night. I said no. I said I wasn't going to be responsible for 6 kids. I said 6 is 3 times as many kids, so I wanted 3 times as much money because I would have to get my sister or one of my friends to help. I said that if they thought that wasn't fair, I had no problem leaving and they could find someone else. They agreed and I said I wanted to be paid up front. The husband pulled out his wallet and paid me. My mom stayed with me until my dad brought my little sister to help me wrangle the kids. They were home by 11:45 and my mom picked us up. But now they are complaining on the neighborhood group that I am an asshole for holding them hostage for more money. I think a deal is a deal and I wasn't the one who tried to change it to begin with. Info: I paid my sister $125 because I did all the hard work. She played with the kids and watched Nimona.
Am I the asshole for pulling out of planning my sister's wedding, causing her to lose her venue? As a wedding planner who has been in the industry for many years now, my party trick amongst close friends and family is being able to guess how long my clients' marriages will last with pretty alarming accuracy. If you ask anyone in the industry, there are specific indicators while working with a couple that allow us to be able to gauge compatibility. I can usually get down to around a 6-month window when predicting when photos of each other will disappear from socials. This is not me taking joy in crashing and burning of relationships. Working in this career field can actually leave you feeling jaded about relationships in general, which is why I'm reluctant to work for friends and family. The specific stress wedding planning puts on some couples can bring out the worst in them that you don't see in everyday life. My sister is getting married early next year and practically begged me to plan for her despite my stance on clients I know personally. I finally gave in and we began the process back in March. Last week, while we were meeting and finalizing a few things, she asked me about the party trick I mentioned. She said since I had been working with her and her fiancé for months now, I could give my prediction as to how long they were going to last. I laughed and tried to move on. I thought she was joking, but she continued to press the issue. After her continually bothering me about this for at least 15 minutes when I'm trying to move on, I do have work outside of my specific appointment with her that I needed to get to. I finally told her I thought they would last forever. She claimed she didn't believe me and wanted my real number, so I shrugged and told her the truth. 1.5 years. She was livid. I felt incredibly uncomfortable with the whole ordeal, especially with how little she respected my boundaries in what is supposed to be a professional setting, and just tried to usher her out of my office. Instead, she began ranting about my own marriage and said she gives us until the end of the year before we break up, and accused me of being a homewrecker. She finally left, and I emailed her saying I would no longer be involved in planning. I gave her the contact information for all of the vendors we were working with, but told her the venue would no longer be available, as they only booked to people they have existing relationships with and my involvement was necessary. I have had to break up with clients before, but this felt particularly rough. She has now told our parents that I am purposefully sabotaging her wedding, and that I was unforgivably rude to her when she just asked a playful question. I feel very silly for letting a person disrespect my boundaries over and over again, something I typically wouldn't tolerate, but now I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for trying to invite my daughter to someone's party and possibly ruining it? My daughter, 9, goes to a small school with 11 girls in her grade. Her class is very tight-knit and we all get along well. About a year ago, the girls started a book club and meet up at different homes 2 times per month. My daughter was in it last summer, but we had to stop when the school year began. She's a competitive dancer, which requires a lot of time. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago, we had a girl in her class over named Sarah. Sarah asked my daughter if she was excited to attend Addie's, another girl in the class, birthday party. She said it was a swimming party and they'd be playing a movie on an outdoor screen. My daughter hadn't received an invite. When Sarah's mom came, Sarah told her how we hadn't received an invite for Addie's birthday. Sarah's mom said Addie had handed them out at the last book club and had probably just forgot to reach out. She suggested I text Addie's mom. I was hesitant at first because I do have strong feelings about inviting yourself to things. I couldn't see a real reason why she wasn't invited since it was an at-home party and every other girl was. I texted Addie's mom and reminded her my daughter hadn't been at the last book club and if she was also supposed to receive an invite. She responded that they had hired someone to do a spot for the girls during the party and the service had a limit of 10, so they decided to only do the girls in book club. She didn't expect us to find out. I responded that I understood but felt it was wrong to not include just one. I told my daughter we can't expect to be invited every time and this was just a life lesson. Sarah's mom reached out to ask if I had sorted it out. I sent her a screenshot from the convo. She didn't respond for a few days, but when she did, she told me she had decided Sarah wouldn't attend. She felt it was wrong to not include just one child and she could see if our kids didn't get along or had drama, but that wasn't the case. They hired someone knowing just one girl would be left out and she didn't agree with it. I get a text from Addie's mom a week later that a total of 4 girls were not attending. She felt I had ruined her daughter's party and was creating drama. I explained that I had no intentions of ruining her party and had only spoken to one other mom about it. I talked to my own mom about it, who agreed I should not have texted Addie's mom and if they had wanted us we would have been invited. The only mom I talked to about it was Sarah's, which I assume is who told others. I never meant to cause others to not attend or ruin a child's party. When I reached out, I really felt like it must have been a mistake since she was the only one. Now I'm unsure if I was just a jerk who now caused unnecessary drama in a small group and possibly ruined a child's party. Was I the asshole? Edit. My daughter does still attend book club once per month to once every other month. She didn't totally leave, she's just not a full-time member.
Am I the asshole for choosing our family dog over a friend hard on his luck? Me, my wife, and our 2 daughters, both under 5, live in a decent-sized apartment. Not grand or anything of the sort, but big enough for us and for us to host another person for a limited amount of time that it would not be a burden. Recently, a friend of mine, that I've known for a few years from an old job, is going through a divorce, has asked me for a place to stay. I talked it over with my wife and she has no problems with him staying with us. When I told him that he could stay, he was so grateful, but then told me to let him know once we have gotten rid of our dog and deep cleaned the home, as he has a severe dog allergy. We never knew about this as it has never been an issue. We always hung out at a mutual friend's house, work, the bar, or double dates at restaurants where no dogs are. I told him that we would not be able to get rid of our dog to accommodate, as he is a part of our family, getting older, and that it would honestly devastate our girls and us. He is now running around bad-mouthing us to our friend group for taking back our offer for him to stay with us and choosing a dog over his health. I have been receiving multiple calls saying that I am the asshole for not helping him now. To sum up, I'm choosing our family dog over our friend staying with us due to his divorce. Edit. I've seen it asked. Me and my family are American from the East Coast, very pet-friendly area. But we no longer live in the USA as of now due to my work, and currently live in a not-so-dog-friendly country on the other side of the world. Dogs here are not looked at as they are in the USA. Many view them little more than pests and don't understand viewing one as family here.
Am I the asshole for not letting my neighbor and her kids swim in our pool? I am 29, live with my husband 30 in a nice house in a smaller town. We have double income, no kids. Our house has a pool in the yard. It's really nice since it does get quite hot during summers. Our neighbor is a single mom of 3. Her house doesn't have a pool and it's a lot smaller than ours. Both me and my husband babysit for her sometimes, which is why I know this. Yesterday morning, when my husband had already left for work and I had started to work from home, I heard noises from our yard. Our houses in here aren't right next to each other, so it's quite easy to tell that the noise is from your yard. So I went to check, and our neighbor and her kids were swimming in our pool. I was confused since she has never came to our house uninvited, but I went to talk to her and asked what was going on. She explained that she had a day off from work, so she wanted to do something nice with her kids, so she decided to borrow our pool since we don't have much use for it since we are child-free. I asked her nicely to leave since they had come uninvited and were there without our permission. She thought I was joking, but when I asked again, she got defensive and demanded that I should give her valid reasoning why she and her kids can't be there. I didn't give her reason, but I told her that I would call the police if she didn't leave and told her not to show up uninvited again. She did leave but kept cursing at me and even accused me of classism. I think it's important to mention that because we live in an area where the houses aren't right next to each other and you can't see inside our house even for the furthest point of our yard. So me and my husband tend to hang out just in underwear or sometimes naked. So I was shocked to find her there just using our pool so comfortably. My neighbor has been mad to me since, and she has bad-mouthed me to others in the neighborhood. I told my husband and my parents about this. My husband and my dad think what I did was reasonable, but my mom told me that I should have been more understanding to her since she works hard and is a single mom of 3. But I feel like she didn't care about our privacy at all. So am I the asshole? Edit. Thank you for all the advice. We have purchased locks and cameras for our pool. We already have a fence. Also, we live in the US, but we were both born in China and have later moved here. We met in university here in the US. I'm also sorry for my spelling errors. Also, we were babysitting for free, but we're not going to continue doing so. Am I the asshole for saying out loud that I will feel nothing but relief the day my stepsister goes to jail? My dad and stepmom Leah have been married for 10 years, but we've lived together since I was 5 and my stepsister Sarah was 6. Around the time we were 12, Sarah started getting in trouble at school. It was small stuff at first, but then it became constant and she started getting in trouble outside of school as well. My dad and Leah always said how Sarah was just trying to fit in with her friends, and pretty much just ignored it because they said they just had to wait for Sarah and her friends to grow out of it. Sarah's been out of control since she was 15. My dad and Leah keep their car keys locked in a safe, yet Sarah still manages to steal them and drive unlicensed. She's bragged to people about driving drunk. Hi. Sarah has been arrested more than a few times, but she's never actually spent time in jail for more than a few hours, if even that, before being allowed to go home. I strongly suspect that my dad and Leah have been bribing people or pulling some other strings to keep Sarah out of jail. But I stay quiet about it since I know I don't have any actual evidence. 2 weeks ago, my friend Emma came over and we hung out in the backyard. Sarah came up in the conversation and Emma asked me what I thought was going to happen to Sarah now that she's 18 and is also out of high school. This is the part where I could be the asshole. I told Emma that because of all the crap Sarah does, she will end up serving serious jail time and I will feel nothing but relief the day that Sarah does inevitably go to jail. It turns out that Leah was in our laundry room. Our laundry room has a screen window to the backyard where Emma and I were hanging out. So Leah overheard what I said to Emma. After Emma left, my dad and Leah both confronted me about what I said. Leah told me she was appalled by what I said about Sarah because she's been my sister for 10 years, yet I said I would be relieved to see her go to jail. Later, my dad came into my room and told me that he knows I can't change how I feel, but that Leah is terrified of what is going to happen to Sarah now that she's 18. So saying what I said out loud was unnecessary and incredibly insensitive to her. Emma says that it may not have been the kindest thing to say about Sarah, but that I was just being honest and Leah shouldn't have eavesdropped if she wasn't prepared to hear something negative about her daughter. I just got back to my dad and Leah's house after a week at my mom's house though, and things are still pretty tense between us, especially me and Leah. I'm starting to doubt Emma's words and whether or not I was the asshole for what I said. Am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé my daughter has to be in our wedding? I have a daughter, P, from a previous relationship. I divorced my ex-wife on good terms and we share 50-50 custody of P. She is now 11. After I divorced my ex-wife, I met my now fiancé, S. S and my daughter got along very well. After 5 years in my relationship with S, I proposed. S was super excited and wanted to start planning right away. She looked at venues and started asking her friends to be her bridesmaids. She then told me she wanted her niece to be a flower girl, which I had no problem with, but I said I also wanted P to be a flower girl. S looked at me funny and then said that she didn't think that P would fit the part. I got angry and told S that my daughter would be in our wedding. S started to become upset and said that the girls in the wedding were up to her, and P wouldn't be one of them. I told S that if P wasn't in the wedding then there might not be a wedding. I stormed out and took P to get ice cream. P knows we are getting married and told me she thinks she will look pretty at whatever dress S decides she should wear. This broke my heart and I decided to text S. I told her I would be staying at a friend's to think this over. My mother-in-law texted me saying I am overreacting and that my daughter doesn't have to be in my wedding, and I wasn't asked for saying that I would cancel. So did I take it too far saying I will cancel? Am I overreacting or just being a good dad? Edit. Thank everyone for the comments and suggestions. I will post an update in the near future. Update. Hey Reddit, thank everyone for all the kind words and suggestions. To answer a few questions, my daughter is not disabled, chubby, or having an awkward phase, braces, glasses. I did ask if P could be a groomsman. S immediately shot me down. S is 39, she is the same race as my daughter. This is her first marriage. I tried to answer as many comments as possible. I came home to talk to S today. When I pulled in our driveway, my mother-in-law was sitting there in her car. I got out and went inside trying to avoid talking to mother-in-law. S was sitting at the kitchen table and I joined her. She sat in silence, so I asked the first question, why does P not fit the part? And why don't you want her in the wedding at all? Her answer full-on shocked me. She quietly said, I was hoping that after the wedding you could become a holiday visit-only dad. I didn't want her in the wedding so she wouldn't be in the photos around the house since she wasn't going to be around much. I kept my cool, calmly took her hand, and pulled my engagement ring off. Her eyes started to tear up. She said we shouldn't end the marriage over this and that she can change. I told her the damage was already done. I told her I wanted her things moved out by next week and that she could come get them when my daughter wasn't home. The house is in my name and I paid for it. I was allowing her to get her furniture that she paid for. She stormed out and mother-in-law came knocking on the door saying I was being unreasonable. I couldn't imagine only seeing my daughter 3 or 4 times a year. The fact that S wanted me to give up part of my custody blew me away. I'm sitting on my couch just in shock. Our honeymoon was supposed to be in Hawaii. Looks like me and P will be going instead. I will update again if anything happens. Am I the asshole for not wanting to pay grandparents for babysitting? The big question we all saw coming. Who is going to babysit our new baby? And are we going to ask your parents to babysit? Or put him into daycare? This was the dreaded situation between my wife and I. Before we decided to have kids, we moved out into our own house shortly after we got married. Coming from an apartment we were both living in, we took everything into consideration: community, area, school district, but most importantly, location. Not just distance to work or local shopping areas, but more importantly the distance to my wife's parents. As we knew later on, we would have them babysit as they were the closest grandparents. My parents live 3 to 4 hours away, which was not really ideal for daily babysitting. My mother-in-law, 67, was soon to retire the same year we were expecting, so it all worked out anyways, or so we thought. This was the kicker. Her dad, 63. I know growing up, my wife always talked about how he liked to have financial responsibility and security. So he was very financial savvy with her, but he never really shared how much he makes or made, or how much he has. He never liked the idea of free handouts, but he would help her in her financial needs, like paying part of her college tuition, buying her a car as long as she takes care of insurance, gas, etc., which is a good mindset to which we agree with. He has spoken to me about his retirement funds, somewhere in the couple millions range, and how much he makes, somewhere in the $150,000 a year range, so I know he doesn't need money. My wife knows he doesn't need money but doesn't know how much he has. Whenever we talk to them about babysitting, they love the idea. Since her mom would be retiring, it would work out perfectly, and they'd get to see their grandchild every day or most days. Soon after we had our baby, maternity-paternity leave was up. I was going back to work, My wife had another month left, and her dad started talking about paying them for babysitting. Seeing as he wasn't fond of the free babysitting, he started to compare pricing of daycares in today's market and how much he would start charging us weekly. After his research, he surmised his amount to $400 week for babysitting and $100 for weekends, and we were shocked. We thought to ourselves, at that rate we might as well just take our baby to a daycare and not have to drive back and forth. We weren't upset with having to pay them because we wanted to pay them, and we knew we weren't going to take advantage of the situation. We only started to get upset when he started demanding that we pay them for babysitting. And it's not like my wife and I were well off either, we make enough to live comfortably. So it became a huge discussion between us to the point where we almost decided that they weren't going to see their grandchild unless we decide to see them on the weekends. So am I the asshole for not wanting to pay my in-laws for babysitting? Edit. A lot of posts are saying reeking of entitlement, but take my sentences out of context. We weren't expecting them to babysit for free. Mother-in-law was already set to retire soon, but retired early so she could be with her first grandchild, and she loved the idea of being a full-time carer. Everything would be provided. Everything. And I guess to clarify the upset situation and using our child as blackmail, if you actually read the paragraph, I say we were wanting to pay them for the full-time care, but weren't expecting father-in-law to be a bit absurd with the cost to pay them, and the fact that he was demanding us to pay him when we were already going to pay them. I stated in that last sentence that they wouldn't see their grandchild unless we visit them on the weekends when we have time. It doesn't negate the fact that they can come visit anytime, which is what everyone or mostly everyone is assuming. It wasn't said in a way that we would bar the grandparents from seeing the grandchild.
Am I the asshole for being indecently exposed while feeding my baby? I recently had mine and my husband's first child, a little boy who is now 5 months old. Our baby is amazing, and we are so in love with him. After the birth, we only allowed our parents' siblings to see the baby so that we could have some time to settle into our new lives. We didn't want to be overrun with visitors, but decided to host a barbecue this weekend so some more extended family and friends could meet baby. It went really well, and everyone was so over the moon to see the little one. I would like to clarify, this wasn't a huge gathering, maybe only 10 people. At one point, I took baby inside for his lunch. I am nursing him at the moment, so I went to his nursery so we could have some privacy. As most people were in the backyard, I thought that this would be a quiet spot for the two of us. Unbeknownst to me, my best friend's husband needed the bathroom at some point and came into the house. I think he was having a bit of a snoop around because he ended up opening the door to the nursery where I was with the baby, which is nowhere near the bathroom, and inevitably found us. He was quite shocked and fumbled his words a little bit before closing the door and leaving. I was not very happy that this had happened because I had specifically gone looking for a quiet moment so baby could eat, but it is what it is and I thought it was over. When I walked out of the house a little while later, I was surprised to see that my best friend and her husband had left. My husband tells me that when best friend's husband came out of the house, he immediately reprimanded my husband for the fact that I was exposing myself and acting inappropriately in front of guests. Of course, my husband was very confused by what was going on, but best friend's husband basically just grabbed my friend and the two of them left, leaving everyone else quite stunned. A few hours after everyone had gone home, best friend's husband started a group chat with myself, my husband, and my best friend, and basically said that he could not believe how I had exposed myself to him today when I knew he was happily married, and that I should have more shame. He said that I was not setting a good example for my son, who would grow up as some kind of deviant because I am refusing to feed him in a normal and healthy way. I am honestly quite upset about the whole thing, and no one has responded. My best friend has not even opened any of my other messages, but I wonder if maybe I should have just gone with a bottle feed during the event so that this never would have happened. My husband thinks best friend's husband has lost his mind, but I wonder, was I the asshole? Am I the asshole for telling a mother that if her daughter had drowned it would have been on her? Hi, long-time lurker but never posted. I am also typing on my phone, so apologies for formatting or misspelling. I am currently on a 2-week holiday in Greece with my dad and his girlfriend. We aren't at a resort but a family-owned hotel which is pretty private, but it has a bar and a pool. I'm coming up to the end of my stay here, which sucks, but it's such a lovely place and I recommend to visit if you ever can. Anyway, this family arrived yesterday. It's 2 moms and 3 young girls, which I assume are between the ages of 6 to 10. One of girls belongs to one woman and the other 2 to another. So, I was in the pool while these little girls were playing around and having fun in the shallow end. There's a small ramp in the middle of the pool leading to the deep end, and one of the girls was playing on it, slipped, and almost drowned. Luckily, I was nearby and helped this girl up because she was splashing around and struggling to get herself up. I lifted her out and made sure she was all right before following her over to where her mother was sat. Her mother was oblivious as to what had happened. She was on her phone when her daughter ran over crying because she was scared. I approached her and explained what had happened, to which she didn't seem to care or thank me for helping her daughter. I asked her to keep a closer eye on her kids, to which she responded by saying she was watching them. I pointed out that she was too focused on her phone to see her daughter slip and potentially drown, as she didn't even have armbands. This woman then proceeded to tell me I was meddling in someone else's business and how she watches her kids isn't my concern, and I shouldn't be lecturing her on watching children when I don't have any. This is where I might be the asshole because I blew up on her. I told her that her negligence could have cost her daughter her life and that she shouldn't leave her kids unsupervised in a pool with no armbands on. I asked her what she would have done if I wasn't there to help her daughter, because if she had drowned it would have been on her for not watching her child. She called me an asshole and aggressively went through her bag to blow up some armbands, which was crazy to me because if she had them, then why weren't they already on her kids? My dad and his girlfriend are on my side at least, but I feel like I shouldn't have shouted at her. So am I the asshole?
Am I the asshole for kicking my girlfriend out in the middle of her capstone project for graduate school, jeopardizing the future of her degree? I am a twin. We can call my brother Matthew for anonymity's sake. To get ahead of some of the most commonly asked questions, we're identical. We do things in sync sometimes, but I don't know if it's any more common than 2 people who just spend a lot of time together and adopt each other's mannerisms. I would absolutely say that the twin intuition thing is real. We have 2 older brothers and I love them, but I'm not as close to them as I am Matthew. We have never been away from each other for longer than maybe 3 days. We don't technically live together, but we stay in the same apartment building for college and often just fall asleep at each other's places. My girlfriend and I have been long distance for basically our entire relationship. I'm busy with school and the music me and Matthew work on together. She lives about 2 hours away and is busy with her job and her grad program. To make a long, somewhat confusing explanation short, she's staying with me for the summer, working shorter hours remotely while she fulfills an in-person grad school requirement at the university I currently attend. Most of her grad program has been online. This section is not. It's her capstone project, and doing it during the summer basically means she's doing it in double time, so she really has to buckle down and work. I get that. Still, the way she's been treating my brother isn't cool with me. She often rolls her eyes and shuts herself in our guest bedroom when she comes home and sees that he's over. We smoke together and fuck around on guitars together while we work on music, things she used to be fond of but now seems to hate. The final straw came last week when I got a phone call while I was out of her freaking out. She had refused to let my brother in the apartment, so he used the key I had given him, and she lost it. She said her boundaries weren't being respected and that I needed to kick him out. Instead, I told her she needs to leave. She's furious, saying she can't find somewhere else to stay on such short notice and I'm fucking up the most important class of her life, saying I'm too codependent on my brother, and that I should have never told her she could stay when I knew she needed to work and I wasn't allowing her to do so. Am I the asshole?
Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, or maybe tell me what do you think about it. Have a good day. Goodbye, and see ya.